Hey guys, welcome to Portugal, where Lexus flew me out here to test drive this, the second generation of the Lexus RZ, which of course is the all-electric Lexus based on the same platform as what once upon a time was the BZ4X, but is now the BZ or the Subaru Solterra. So in this video, we're going to do a walk around. I'll show you everything that's new about the RZ, and then we're going to take it for a ride, see how it drives, and then we'll finish up by kind of giving you my first impressions of what it's like. So let's start with the styling as always. Now, in the front, they have made it a little bit more aggressive. As you can see, we are missing that giant spindle grille that Lexus is known for, and that's because, of course, this is all electric, so there is no need for as much cooling. I kind of like this color. It's kind of a coppery color, but in general, it makes for an interesting all-electric vehicle. Now, if you're wondering, is there a frunk? The answer is, let's find out. We'll pop open the hood, and the answer is, no, there's no frunk. It's just got a big old electric motor. And, you know, sometimes people like a frunk because it gives them added storage, or storage that is away from the passenger compartment. In this case, if you want the Lexus, you're going to have to do without a frunk. Now, this is the European version. This is a 500e, and we won't be getting that one, but we are going to be getting the 350, the 450, and the 550 F Sport. And the difference between those is obviously price. Car and Driver says that the 350, which is a front-wheel drive version, will start at about 45-ish and probably go up to 60,000 if you get the new F Sport 550e. Those are guesses. The car won't be available until later this year, which is what Lexus says. I'm guessing probably in the fall. Now, in terms of battery size, it's kind of a head scratcher because you do get two batteries. The smaller 350 gets a 75 kilowatt hour. The larger 550 and 450 get a 77 kilowatt hour battery, which is only 2 kilowatt difference, which is also a head scratcher. But there's a pretty significant difference in range. You're talking about 300 miles on the front wheel drive 350. And then if you go all the way up to the 550 with its bigger battery, it's more horsepower, then you're only looking at about 230, about 250 for the 450. And that is, well, it's not great. The 300 horsepower for the front wheel drive is kind of the standard, but the other two fall a little short in terms of range. In terms of charging, it charges up to about 150 kilowatt hours, which is also kind of in the middle of the pack. But all RZs will now come with the NACS, or North American Charging Standard. In other words, you'll be able to use it at a Tesla charger, which is good because obviously that's the biggest and most reliable network. All right, now I'm behind the wheel of the 350, which is the entry level, and I think it's the sweet spot in the Lexus RZ range because this one has 300 miles of range. Yes, that's right, a whole 300 miles of range, whereas the two above it have 250 and less than 250. And like I like to say, electric cars, just like real estate, is all about location, location, location. Electric cars are all about range, 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 and this one has it. And unless you live in someplace like Colorado where you need all-wheel drive, I think front-wheel drive does just fine. Now, this does drive very nicely. The great thing about electric cars and luxury is that the two pair like peanut butter and jelly. They go together because luxury is all about being comfortable, being serene, and being ensconced in your own world and letting the outside world do its own thing. And electric cars are really good at that, and this Lexus is no exception. The other great thing about this Lexus, of course, is that it does have that very familiar Lexus ride quality, which I would say is reserved. It's certainly not going to be a car like a Mercedes or like a BMW that you're going to want to tear down the Autobahn on, even if you have the Export. Lexus has always been more about, once again, getting you out of the world as opposed to putting you on a twisty road and engaging with the world around you. And that's fine. Once upon a time, luxury cars were all about that. They were just about luxury, right? They were about how quiet and comfortable and how isolated you felt. And then in the last maybe 15 years, auto manufacturers have tried to clump together luxury and sport into the same thing, and the two really don't go together when you think about it. When you're in a sports car, you want it to be alive, and you want to feel the road, and you want to be able to carve corners, the exact opposite of what you want in a luxury car. And this, to me, at least in this model without the F-Sport, feels like a true luxury car. And the electric motor just makes it more so. So overall, I do have some critiques of this car. First and foremost, the steering is a little bit numb. All right, it's a lot numb. But in Europe, you can get the car with the yoke, and gosh, this is so much better. Literally, reinventing the wheel is not a good idea. I love to drive with my hands up here like this, and you can't do that with the yoke. And with this car, you can do it. The other thing you get in Europe is that annoying beep every time you exceed the speed limit. So in this video, you'll see how many times I exceed the speed limit, because it will beep at me incessantly every time I go 1 kilometer over the speed limit, but that's Europe. Big screen, mirror that is a camera, 2 sunroofs, and let's floor it. Not bad. You know, it's not going to give you tunnel vision, but it will scoot out of the way of any slower traffic. Yeah, it's okay. And I'm a big fan of all-wheel drive, but like I say, as I get older, I start to realize that sometimes front-wheel drive like this, or rear-wheel drive, if you're looking for a little bit more sporty nature in a car, is a perfect solution for much of the country, because like I said, not all of you guys live where it snows as much as it does in Colorado. So I don't think we can go right on red here, so I'm going to have to wait for the stoplight. And it's a good time to talk about kind of the infotainment. Now, Toyota finally has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is wonderful. So you've got this big screen. And you do have a real volume knob. You have real temperature controls, which is also nice. But everything else, including the heated seats and the cooled seats and the heated steering wheel, is all digital. But they're always displayed here, so they don't disappear like with some of the systems, which is also very nice. Come on in with me. And we will show you the interior, which is actually very lovely. I mean, one of the things that Lexus does so well is makes it feel special, makes it feel expensive, makes it feel luxurious. And this is certainly the case inside this vehicle. It's not a huge car by any means. I mean, it's, you know, it's about the size, oh my, it's about the size of the RAV4, give or take. Which is fine. If you're looking for something bigger, then you'd probably, you know, want to look at maybe an Escalade or many of the other electric vehicles that are for sale now. This one has a regular steering wheel. Here in Europe, Lexus is coming out with a steer-by-wire that is paired to a yoke. We won't be getting that, at least not yet, which is a good thing, because I just drove it, and I gotta say, I really don't like the yoke. Literally reinventing the wheel was not a good idea. When Tesla did it with the Model S Plaid, they first came out with the yoke, and then eventually, if you wanted to get a regular steering wheel, you had to pay extra. Then they swapped it around, so now if you want a Plaid with the yoke, that is an option. So I'm not sure that, you know, Tesla pioneering this and then Lexus following in its footsteps is a good thing, but here we have a traditional steering wheel, which is very lovely. You've got this giant infotainment system with these very elegant temperature controls. Everything is very driver-centric. Seats are comfortable, and I have to say, I really love this interior. It just feels expensive and very special. Now, one of the downsides to this car for me is that the passenger doesn't get as much of the infotainment as the driver. If you know about the Corvette, you'll know that it's got this very driver-centric interior with these controls that run down the center, and this Lexus feels like that, which is great if you're the driver. You kind of feel like you're missing out if you're the passenger. But in terms of luxury, in terms of feel, in terms of, well, just the quality of the interior, everything here feels like a Lexus, which is, I think, very good. One of the cool things this new Lexus RZ does is it simulates the motor noise. Let me show you. I don't know if you can hear that, but basically you can hear the revolutions of the motor as it increases and as it decreases. Now I was trying to figure out whether I like that, and I do like it because it gives you a sense of speed that you normally wouldn't have. And is that what the motor actually sounds like? Don't know, but it's cool. So yeah, this is another use of augmented sound that I like versus something, you know, that is fake and cringy versus fake and fun. This is one of those cars where I feel getting the cheaper one is actually getting the better one. Now you are missing out on some things. The F Sport gets a spoiler. Once again, exceed the speed limit. It gets a little bit more aggressive tires and a wheel combination. But I think with especially the RZ, less is more. So let's talk about competition. Of course, kind of this mid-size luxury sedan is a very popular crossover segment for electric cars. Obviously, the 800-pound gorilla in the segment would be the Model Y, but you also have the Lyriq, which would be a direct competitor to this. The Lyriq does offer 200 more horsepower in the V version, which I'm going to go drive in 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that, which is a lot. But I'm not sure that electric car buyers are inspired by horsepower. I just drove the new quad motor Rivian R1S and R1T, and that has 1,000 horsepower and 1,200 pound-foot of torque. And at some point, the speed just becomes ridiculous. Lexus says that if you get the top of the line RZ, it'll do 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, which I think for most Lexus buyers is fine. Now there is a little bit of a contradiction. Most electric car buyers are younger. I guess old folk don't like electrons versus gasoline, go figure. But obviously the Lexus brand caters to an older demographic. So it'll be interesting to see if this RZ will bring in a younger demographic because, like I say, it is electric. As you know, or don't, there are now 3 models of the RZ coming to America. There's the 350, the 450, and the 550. So let's play a game. Can you guess which model is which? But I've thrown in a ringer, and that's that one, because that one is the RZ 500E, which we don't get in America. So nothing to see here. We won't get that one. Let's take a look at the ones that we are getting. First and foremost, this is the new F Sport, and let's look inside and see if it has, yes, it does have it, another thing that we're not getting, which is the yoke and steer-by-wire. Of course, you know the Cybertruck has steer-by-wire, and I believe this is the second application of it in the automobile business here in Europe. As far as I know, we're not getting that, and I actually don't mind. I'm not a big fan of the yoke. Didn't love it on the Model S Plaid, and don't love it on the F Sport. Oh, no soft closed doors. Just figure that out as well. And then one of the things that we are getting on the F Sport is this. It is a funky little spoiler that lets everybody know that you've got the fast one. Once again, 500E. So, not getting that one, but if you look over here, you can kind of see that these tires, these Yokohamas, are much smaller than these Dunlops, and that's because this is one we're getting. That's the 350. In other words, a front-wheel drive base model, which may start around 45-ish, but they haven't announced pricing yet. But you can tell the difference between the base model and, of course, the F Sport, not just because of the spoiler, but because of the little diffuser on the bottom. So that's also a little bit different. And then if you walk over this way, maybe we can take a look at some of the other models that we're getting. And this is another one that we're not getting, another one that we're not getting, another 500. Oh my. A lot of these cars here in Europe are just European models only, but I believe that this one is another one we're not getting. But I'm sure I can find a European version that perhaps we are getting. I like the dual tone hood there. I like the copper color. As you know, we have a Disco 5 in that same color, which was the launch color. And the problem, and the thing I was hoping to show you is that, of course, here in Europe, it's CCS2, but in America, let me find the base model again. It's, let's see what this one is. Oh, CCS2. Gotta go all the way back here for the base model. And in America, it's, voila, CCS2. Oh my God, we're supposed to have NACS. Is there not a single? I bet you there isn't a NACS car here. I bet you they all have CCS. But if this were America, just pretend that that would be a Tesla charging port. Obviously, for this trip, they don't have it because these are European cars. So, did I confuse you enough? Let me reiterate what we are getting, what we're not getting. We're not getting the 500. We are getting the 550. We are getting the 450. And we are getting the 350. With the 350 being front wheel drive, the 450 being all wheel drive, and the 550 being the F Sport, and getting a 77 kilowatt hour battery pack instead of the 75. So here's where it gets just a little bit tighter, not too much tighter. I'm 6'2", so let's see how I fit. Actually, I fit really well. Plenty of room for headroom, plenty of room for my knees. Yeah, I have nothing to complain about. I also have heated seats back here, my temperature controls, and once again, just this lovely interior that feels very luxurious and, dare I say it, sexy. Yeah, it's a little bit sexy in here for a Lexus. Tons of room, and then under here is a nice little cubby hole, which gives you great, more useful space use. Boy, that is a horribly structured sentence. I apologize for that. All right, let's close it up. And then let's take this car for a ride and see how it does. Now, this is the RZ 500e. Like I said, we won't be getting this one. This one is a European-only model. But if you love Lexus and you love EVs, this is really your only choice. Obviously, you can get the RX in a hybrid. But if you want something that's all electric, this is what you have. Thank you, Lexus, for flying me out here, and thank you for letting me drive this car. And I really like Portugal.